The 1970s, it was a time of change. Socially progressive views began to challenge the morale base of the world. In the United States, it was a decade marred by turmoil. The Nixon administration succeeded in bringing the destructive Vietnam conflict to an end, but not without consequences and unfinished business. Nixon also brokered new relationships with the Far East, including a face-to-face meeting with Chairman Mao. But none of those successes could shield Nixon or the rest of the country from the scandal that was known as Watergate. An act of political espionage escalated into a full-out national crisis, which culminated, for the first time in history, the resignation of the President of the United States. With the changing social climate came changes in entertainment. Television programs like All in the Family, Good Times, The Jeffersons, and Maude talked about issues on television that had up until this point been taboo. Movies that had grown grittier and more realistic changed again when we were warned, don't go near the water. With a 2-note theme song and a 20-foot mechanical shark, Jaws was introduced to the world. 2 years later, the movies would change forever again when we were told of a story that happened a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. The movie was Star Wars. The folk-influenced acid rock of the psychedelic 60s gave way to disco. White leisure suits, bell-bottoms, and the Bee Gees marked our culture in ways that would influence all areas of life for decades to come. Despite the social changes, Bethel Baptist Church did not change in its message and mission to reach the lost for Jesus Christ. Following Donald Strother's resignation, the church was once again in need of a pastor. The Lord provided that man in a missions-minded preacher working in Baltimore City named Stuart Deal. Pastor Deal, who had served as executive director of Helping Up Missions in Baltimore for 15 years, began in June of 1972 and continued as pastor until 1987. The decade of 1971 through 1981 saw continued growth in Sunday school and in worship, and a heightened focus on missions within the ministry of the church. Attendance during this period constantly demonstrated the reality that Bethel had once again outgrown her current home. In 1976, the church purchased the land adjacent to the back parking lot, which increased the church property to 5.4 acres. After 2 aborted attempts, a building program was begun in 1979. The original chapel was dismantled and the roof portion was relocated to the rear of the church property, where it was turned into a picnic pavilion. Work then commenced on a new worship center and fellowship hall. The building was finished and dedicated on April 26, 1981, as Bethel was approaching her 20th birthday. The mission and ministry of the House of God, Bethel Baptist Church on Montgomery Road, continues.